Welcome everybody to the Charlotte Roval for round number 33 of the NASCAR 1-Up Retro Cup Series season. I'm alongside Duke Anzac as always for the broadcast here today, and this is a unique track that we're not going to see. We've not seen anything like it before, and we're not going to see anything like it after this race. It's a mix of high-speed turns, high-banked oval, and tight twisting road course. So I ask you this. With the road course aspect of this race, who do you think is going to shine more, the intermediate stars, or will the road course guys show their talents a little more?
I'm thinking that the road course guys are going to show their talents in this race because you have to look at this course as a whole. And for the most part, it's a lot of high braking zones, a lot of turning right and left, a lot of elevation change in that infield section. And running on the oval, it's just not quite the same as running when it's just the oval without the road course section. So I'm looking at all the road course guys for this race.
And that was reflected in qualifying. We can give you the full starting lineup now. And Andres Molina, the road course ringer, has put himself on outside pole alongside Jeffrey Finguy, who won the pole position at Spa-Francorchamps as well. And Watkins Glen winner Jake McMillan has positioned himself nicely in this race as well. He will start fifth with a lot of the playoff contenders starting in the top 20. This time, 9 out of 12 starting inside the top 20. Good runs from them as well. The only outliers being the 44, the 30, and the 75, all starting 24th or worse. But I'm sure over the long race here at the Charlotte Roval, they can make up plenty of time pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And this is such a beautiful track, and they have done a fantastic job creating this track and making it so that it produces fantastic racing. All of the racing at this track is just awesome. There's a lot of passing zones. There's a lot of high speed sections. There's a lot of high speed, high pressure braking zones. And it's going to be an interesting race for sure. I'm really excited to watch.
And with that being said, the cars are lined up on the track. We're ready to go racing for 33 laps around the Charlotte Roval, and we'll take you to the green flag soon. This is 1-Up Retro Cup Racing live from Charlotte. And the pace car leading us through NASCAR 3 and 4, pulling onto pit road, and leads us in the hands of Jeffrey Finguy and Andres Molina heading down into the tight front stretch chicane. Will be the site of many a good battle as they go through the final corners of this road course, go over the curb. The green flag is out, and we're underway at the Charlotte Roval, and the field's headed towards Tom's Heartburn turn for the first time, and it looks like everybody's going to get through nice and clean.
Yeah, that is a really tough corner. And this is the most street course style area on the NASCAR circuit here, where it's got walls on both sides of you, and it's so tight in there, it's really hard to see going into the next corner. But we've got a clear leader. They're all running wide outside of the in the painted area almost there. It's really exciting. This area going uphill right here. Man, this track is so awesome. You're going uphill, and then you're coming all the way back downhill right there, and it's we got Finguy right there who has the advantage now and the preferred line, but they're still side by side for the lead.
But now he's clear, and Finguy does now what he could not do at Spa, is lead off the line from pole. And he's got a handy lead from Andres Molina, and Jared Polanski has actually gotten ahead of Stephen Hunter in their battle for third place. As we take a look back through the rest of the field, everybody made it through the infield section cleanly as we head down through the backstretch chicane and into NASCAR 3 and 4 for the first time. Jeffrey Finguy's got a comfortable lead over Andres Molina in second.
Yeah, and it was tight for a while as they were coming through the infield section for the first time, but now that they're getting back to the line here, it is going to be all clear track ahead for Finguy, who is the leader at this point.
And going back into the infield section, expect to see a lot of action in this part of the track as Molina starts to close in a tiny bit on Jeffrey Finguy. Finguy has had a wretched luck season so far. He won a race at Martinsville, but he's had so many other races slip through his fingers. He had a win at Phoenix possibly that would have gotten him into the playoffs, taken away by a broken alternator on his car that he had to fix on pit road, and many other races that I could not name, like Spa as well. But here at the Roval, he's got a good car, he's got good track position, and he's got a good lead over Molina as they head into NASCAR 1 and 2 for the second time today.
Yeah, and this track is so interesting because you have to be good at stepping on the throttle, getting to the full speed, and then stepping on the brake and bringing it all the way back, especially through here. It's a really tight chicane right here, and you also have to be really good at taking the racing line through the road course section and making sure that you're not overrunning the track too much. There's not a lot of runoff zone here before you hit grass or a wall, you know, so it's going to be tough, and you especially don't want to cut any of these chicanes. You don't want to cut it because you have to slow down and stop. So we'll see how everybody is able to do with that today, and it's going to be an interesting race.
Andres Molina, running second, has got a full-time ride next season, and he's looking forward to showing his stuff on the ovals as well as his main squeeze on the road courses. And right now he's showing his talents for any prospective team owners that want him for 2022, because here he is right on the bumper of Jeffrey Finguy as they navigate through the corner, up the hill, and down it once more. They head towards the exit of the infield section. Molina's all over Jeffrey Finguy, but here's where Finguy gets such a good run, is coming out of the infield section and back onto the oval. He just gets such a nice run, and he pulls away from Molina once again.
Yeah, you know, you have to get just a straight exit off of that corner and go right onto the banking there. That is going to be a big key to this race, because you want to carry more speed down this long back straightaway and through NASCAR oval turns 1 and 2. We're watching Jared Polansky, and this is an interesting section right there, because that painted area has got to be a little bit slicker than the track. So these drivers, you're going to want to be careful as they all cut the course right there a little bit. You're allowed to cut the course right there, but it comes at the risk of slipping on that painted section.
And everybody seems to be taking that blue turtle on the exit of the final chicane. It does jolt the car around a bunch, but it does help you save a little bit of time, as now Jeffrey Finguy built a full seconds lead over Andres Molina, and a full 2 seconds over this battle between Jared Polansky and Stephen Hunter. Two playoff guys, the top 3 in the playoffs, of the playoff running cars, I should say, running 3, 4, 5 on the track right now, being Jared Polansky, Stephen Hunter, and Bobo Jones in the 13.
Yeah, and I would expect those guys, all of the playoff guys, for that fact, to try to take it a little bit easy today. You know, this is a wild card race in the sense that anybody can win this race, and anybody can do really, really well, but also anybody can do really, really poorly in this race. You could get in a crash very easily. This is an incredibly tough course, so I would expect those guys to take it easy, at least for the beginning of this race, until it's the final stint.
Looking back at 6th, 7th, and 8th now, Jake McMillan, the Watkins Glen winner, ahead of Nicky Martinez in only their 3rd series start, made their debut in Brazil, I believe, and they had a pretty stellar run, finishing in the top 5, but they haven't made many races since then, so it's good to see them back on the grid as we head back towards the lead and check on Jeffrey Finguy, who's building his lead ever so slightly. He gains 3/10 on Andres Molina in that one corner alone, and if you look closely, I think I can see some right side contact on the 23. It might have scraped the wall coming out of the infield section. One can only wonder how his car will handle that. If he rubs a tire, for instance, that could spell disaster for his race.
Absolutely. You know, in that section, when you're coming out of the infield, you want to make that exit of that corner as straight as you can, so that you can get the power down as quickly as you can. A lot of the time, these drivers will swing. We'll see right here, they'll swing all the way out to that outside wall. Here they come.
Yeah, notice how that wall juts out a little bit, because it's meant to follow the curve on the way into the infield section, but as such, it juts out on the way out of the infield section. So keep an eye out for cars making contact there, as you see the right side contact on Andres Molina. We'll keep tabs on that, see if he has to come to pit road early to address the damage and a potential tire rub on the 23.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a danger section for sure, because you want to get the most out of your car. That's one of the most important parts of this track, because if you can carry a lot of speed out of there, you're going to be able to get to a higher speed in the fastest part of this track, going into the backstretch chicane, and that's where you're going to make up a lot of time on your competitors. So it's really important for those guys to go all the way out to the wall, but it's also really, really dangerous.
So far, the damage doesn't seem to affect the 23. In fact, he gained those 3/10 that he lost on the last lap. He gained them back in the previous lap, so that has allowed Molina to close back into just a full second behind Jeffrey Finguy as they head down through the infield section. This appears to be where Molina's at his best, in this infield section, which is not a big surprise considering his road course acumen. However, once they get back onto the high-speed oval, this is where Finguy and Polanski start to have an advantage, as well as Hunter, Jones as well. These oval guys seem to be showing their stuff on the high banks, but it's in that infield where Molina tends to shine if he can hang on to that race car.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It almost makes me wonder if there's a difference in setup, like some kind of brake bias situation where your car is just better at the high braking zones than it is in the low braking zones and the changing direction part of this track in the infield. So that'll be something to watch throughout the rest of this race, and we'll see what prevails in the long run. So far, the 92 faster on the oval part of this track has prevailed. But that 23 car, you know, he's no sleeper, so we'll see if that maybe throughout the long run will help him out, get him up front.
And Jeffrey Finguy has regained those 0.3 of a second that he lost on the previous lap, just as he had gained them back on the lap before that. It just seemed to be cycling back and forth, gaining 0.3 and losing 0.3. But Jeffrey Finguy maintains a 1.3 second lead ahead of the battle for second between Molina and Polanski. That is second and third. For Dodge, Toyota, 1, 2, 3 right now. And as Finguy exits the infield section for the 7th time today and heads on back to the oval, we can talk about pit strategy in this race. Expect a mixed bag of strategies in this race. Some may go for a two-stopper, but some may try and stretch their fuel, try and see if they can make one stop work. I'm not sure if they can do it, however, but it'll be interesting to see who wants to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to want to make it about halfway through this 33-lap race if you want to do a one-stop strategy here. So that's what you're going to watch for here. But I'm sure that we'll know who's on what strategy once those guys in the two-stop strategy make their first pit stop. And the advantage of the two-stop strategy is all about tires. You get your tires, and you're able to run hard, full throttle, all push all the time laps and set fast laps the whole race because you're not really.
Speaking of tires, Andres Molina's tire seems to have given up on him, and he finally heads to the pits to repair the damage on his car. I'm curious to see if they'll take tires right now to try and fix it. It looks like they will, but he's going to be stuck there for a long time. An unscheduled stop for Andres Molina that will take him out of contention to win this race. It's a shame because this is the second to last road course race of the season and the second to last chance for Andres Molina to prove his talents for a full season effort in 2021.
Yeah, that is not what that 23 team wanted to see today. That's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate for them. They were really good so far. But just to talk about the point I was making before, you know, you want to the two-stop strategy. The advantage there is you get to run all out for the whole time. The one-stop strategy is that you have to make one less pit stop. So we'll see if those two-stop strategy guys are able to make up that time on the track that they lose by making an extra pit stop, and it's going to be interesting to see. I love races like this, and it comes down to strategy like that.
Of course, there's no guarantee that a one-stop will even work. I just threw it out as a hypothetical.
Yeah.
But keep a lot of these playoff guys may try it to try and score some much-needed points to try and win this championship, as we seem to have had a little contact coming out of the infield section. Double wave yellows in that section, of course, as is procedure for all road course races. As you saw Alexa Lutchen at the back of the field, it could have involved her, one of the playoff cars involved. As you see Molina going out of the backstretch chicane in the back of your screen, as Jeffrey Finguy works his way through the infield section with now a 2-second lead over Jared Polanski, who has assumed second place, ahead of Stephen Hunter, Bobo Jones, and Jake McMillan, who has now made his way into the top 5 for the first time all race long.
Yeah, we see that the 23 car is on a 3-stop strategy, unwillingly, of course. So I don't believe that will pay off.
I'm not sure. I think he could actually make it on one stop from here. He just pitted extremely early for that first pit stop, and I do not believe that will do him many favors. I believe that will not help his cause. But I believe he can make it on one stop from here. He's just got to time it right. But either way, that extended time on pit road does not help him.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate end of the day for that team, of course. But, you know, we're watching this 92 car as the leader here, and he has been very consistent throughout this whole race so far, running consistent laps, just keeping it smooth and steady. That's what you got to do at this place, and the focus is so high driving around this course, because there's every step of the way you can make a mistake that can absolutely end your day, as we saw with the 23 car already so far in this race.
The double wave yellows have been cleared from the exit of the infield section, so green flag is back out for the entire course, and we can resume racing as normal, with Jared Polansky chasing after Jeffrey Finguy. He's cut the gap down by about 0.6 of a second on that last lap, and he's looking to gain more time. He's looking for a second win. He got his first at Darlington in Throwback Weekend, under caution, I may add. And he's looking to validate that first win that may have come under controversial circumstances with a second one that he earned the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. This is important for the driver of the 18. You know, it's going to be interesting, and of course the playoffs now are here, and we're in it. So this car is going for a championship, and having good solid runs sometimes is not enough to win a championship. Of course, right now he is leading the way of the playoff guys, but we're yet to see him really finish one of these races off without those controversial circumstances. Of course, I would not discount his Darlington win by any means. He earned it. He won the race. But, you know, for the mindset and the momentum purposes from that 18 car, he wants to give it a run.
And he closed the gap even further against Jeffrey Finguy. It's now down to 1.2 between the 92 and the 18 as they head down this short chute of the infield section, going up the hill once more. Polansky seems to be closing the gap on Finguy seemingly everywhere, but he seems to be gaining the most time going into that backstretch chicane, which is where Finguy also shines. But it seems to be me that these oval guys seem to have that backstretch chicane figured out.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. You know, that's the only high speed section of this track. In this 18 car, I'm kind of surprised by this. Before, just now in this race, before he took over second place from the 23, he wasn't really gaining anything. I mean, he was just sitting calm in there, but he must have turned on the afterburners, because this car is looking stout right now.
Must have filled his gas tank with Monster the way that car is running on the racetrack, and he's closed the gap now even further as they head down into the final chicane. No one's missed it yet, so we got a perfect record on that so far. And let's check at the line. The gap's closed by another 0.4 of a second, so it's down to 0.8 as Polansky continues to close in on Finguy. But with pit stops looming, he definitely wants to make this pass before his pit stop happens.
Yeah, and you know the saying, it goes, catching them and passing them are two very different things, and it is no different at this race course, especially because you've got all these curves and twists and turns and high speed sections and everything, and it is a whole different ball game to try to pass somebody here at this track. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's chasing him down now, but once he gets there, what is he going to do?
Too true. Too true indeed, and you need to pick your spot carefully, because if you make an attempt and fail, it's going to take several laps to build up a run again to go after it one more time. But here he is. He's closing the gap even more, and coming out of the backstretch chicane, that gap is closing a little bit. But Finguy's starting to pull away once again. He's back to being off screen when we're focused on the 18 of Polansky here. But Finguy is still very much within reach as we complete lap number 12 of this race. Jeffrey Finguy has led them all so far. Pit stops are looming for all our competitors as this race is very much alive here at the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, this 18 car, what I'm noticing is that he is able to use up more of the racetrack than the 92. I don't know if that's because the 92's car isn't letting him use up the whole track and those curbs and stuff, but the 18 is definitely pushing harder, and he is using more of this track. We'll see it mainly in the backstretch and the front stretch chicanes. That's where Polansky is really using up all of the curbing, and he's cutting the course as short as it can be without actually cutting the track to get a penalty, but the 92 just is not doing that at this point in the race. So I don't know if it's just saving his car or if his car won't let him, but right now it is working out for the 18 very well.
One car you're not seeing in the top 10 anymore is the 13 of Bobo Jones, a playoff contender. He too had to make an unscheduled pit stop to address some damage sustained on that exit of the infield section. That's going to be a big factor in deciding the winner of this race, who can survive that corner, because it's definitely not where you want to make contact, especially with the wall jutting out like that. But as we watch this battle for the lead that's getting closer every lap, keep in mind, if one of these guys brushes the wall and then has to pit for damage, it could be all over.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's one of the toughest parts about racing at this track is if you make a mistake, there is no forgiveness here. The track will eat you up and eat up your race car. So, you know, it's one of those things you just have to be really, really careful while you're trying to race fast.
There you see Jones at the back of your screen racing with Andres Molina. They are at the tail end of the field right now. But their pit stops have allowed J.D. Martin and Nick Ortiz, two other playoff drivers, to make their way into the top 10 for the first time today in 9th and 10th respectively. And as they exit the infield section, you can see Alexa Lutchen just entering it there. She has also had a lackluster day. She started in 16th, but has had a very rough day. Potentially, she was involved in that contact that caused the double wave yellows. However, she's still soldiering on at the back of the field as we enter the backstretch chicane for the 14th time today.
Yeah, this is such an important part of the track. You see the 18 gains so much in there, but he's not close enough to make a move. You really want to make your move, just like any other road course, going into a corner and kind of down the straightaway before that corner. So we're just gonna have to see if the 18 can get a big enough run coming out of one of these chicanes or one of the corners to make the pass going into the next corner.
And looking at the gap, it's down to 0.3 of a second between these two, and really no one else in sight to contend for the win here. As of right now, of course, that could change in an instant after pit stops are cycled through. But right now, it's Finguy and Polanski battling for the lead, and these two have put on a very good showing in this race. Ford versus Toyota, playoff versus non-playoff driver. But Polanski really wants these bonus points that come with a win. He wants to lead the race, and he wants to lead this race a lot, because Finguy has led 14 laps so far, and if he could lead the most laps, if he hangs on for about another, let's say, 3 laps or so, if he can hang on for that long, he will lock up the point for leading the most laps already.
Yeah, and certainly that's something that they're telling Polanski, that he needs to get this lead if he wants to have a shot at getting the bonus point for leading the most laps, because he's running out of time. This thing could be clinched by the 92, that one bonus point. So, you know, this is it's something interesting. Something that I'm noticing about the 18 cars.
As they come into the pits right now, here they come. Everybody's making their way down pit road, except Richard Herman in the 53. He was running 8th. He will stay out for an extra lap, and he will take the point for leading a lap in his McDonald's Dodge. Anyway, back to what you were saying about Polanski and Finguy before pit stops interrupted us. These two are locked in a battle for leading the most laps, but Herman has taken a point for leading a lap, and Finguy now is in... He has not locked up the point yet. If one driver can lead the rest of the way, I doubt that's possible because of the pit stop cycles, but if that can happen, then Finguy will not receive that point at all.
Yeah, we'll see. That's what Polanski's going for, so we'll find out if they want to play any kind of strategy for that. You know, if he stays out an extra lap, that might allow him to keep that point intact and keep leading for that lap, but we'll see if he wants to. That could also risk winning this race. So we'll just have to find out what happens here, and we'll have to find out what happens during the pit stops, because the 18 could come out in front of the 92, and we know how difficult it can be to pass here. So
it could be, and with Herman staying out an extra lap, if he clicks off a really fast one here, as could Lane Sanders and Kevin Carter, who also stayed out behind him, they could also take positions away by staying out an extra lap if they get a fast hot lap in, as Richard Herman comes in the pit right here.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because these these cars, when you get the fresh air and you get a clean track ahead of you, you got no pressure of people around you, and you could click off some really, really fast laps. The 18 car has not really had much of that opportunity. He's always had somebody behind him or somebody in front of him in this race. So we're just going to see if that happens for him. And here's the 92. We're watching. I'm not sure where the 18 is.
But what we do know, and now you see Nicky Martinez in second place after a good pit stop. Where did Jared Polansky go? Did he have a slow stop on the 18 that put him far back in the pack? Because Finn Guy will reassume the lead of this race once the stop cycle through. As Richard Herman exits the pits, he will cycle out likely somewhere in the top 10. But Jeffrey Finn Guy is a very commanding lead of about, I believe, 4.5 seconds now over Richard Herman and Nicky Martinez. And there's Jared Polansky. He cycled out. He will likely cycle out in about 7th position. Tough stop for the 18. I'm not sure if they had a lug not get on right or the jack fell down or something that happened. But they had a slow stop, and that's cost them big time.
Absolutely. That is a huge time loss, and now he is no longer the leading playoff car in this race. So that's really got to hurt. We'll see, this car was at really, really fast before the stop. But now they're certainly not thinking about trying to lead the most laps in this race. They're just trying to get back in the fight for the win.
And with that being said, Nick Ortiz jumped in. Bobo Jones is back in the top 10. Blair in the 69. And Jake McMillan's getting past Richard Herman in the backstretch chicane. That is not a very common passing spot. And Blair gets by Herman as well. Yeah. It's just Herman on cold tires while these guys have had a lap to warm him up. And going back to Jeffrey Finn Guy, and he will lead once again. So in I believe 2 laps or so, he will lock up the bonus point for most laps led, if things keep going the way they are.
Yeah, and that's not very good news for those playoff drivers. But of course, it's not a lot of points. You want to get the majority of your points from finishing well in these races. So that's what they're all trying to do, of course.
And with Finn Guy now having a near 6-second lead over Nicky Martinez and Jake McMillan, Finn Guy can just relax and focus on his next pit stop, which could be coming in at any time, because they could short pit to try and make it to the end on the same set of tires they have on right now, or they could run along and try and get a jump on the field. Either way, they're going to have to make one more stop in this race. The big question is when it will come. Yeah,
that's absolutely right, and when you pit at this track, you don't lose a lap, so it's not that big of a deal to pit early or late. Of course, I don't foresee any kind of major incident that would bring out a full course.
Oh, and here he comes back on pit road already. So Finn Guy's doing exactly what I predicted he would. He'd come to pit road as soon as the window is open, and here comes everybody else.
Everybody else is doing it too,
except Justin Hutchinson. He's going to stay on the track and try and lead a lap in his 28 Ford, and he is in the playoffs. That would help him. But I think Finn Guy already crossed the line while on pit road. Yes, he did. So Hutchinson will have to stay out a second lap if he wants to take that point away. But Justin Hutchinson has assumed the lead of this race due to not having pitted yet. Chris Maley and J.D. Martin are right behind them. 3 playoff guys who weren't having the best of days. They're trying to do something a little different as far as strategy is concerned. Stay out a little extra. Get a point maybe for leading a lap. See what happens. Maybe you can try and steal some positions away by overcutting it.
Yeah, this is an interesting situation. All of these guys could manage to get a point for leading the fastest lap if they play it right. Of course, they don't want that for each other, as they're all competing for a championship together. So that could lead to something interesting here. But yeah, I wasn't expecting them to pit so soon. That's a really interesting strategy. I guess that the crew chiefs knows something about the tires that I don't. But I love to see the unique strategies. And for such a unique racetrack, I would expect nothing else.
And with Justin Hutchinson coming into NASCAR 3 and 4, I'm curious to see if he will duck to pit road early or if he will stretch it out. It looks as though he's slowing to make the entry to pit road. Yes, he will, and he will be followed by Chris Maley. But J.D. Martin, he's going to stay out, and he will definitely get a point for leading a lap. So kudos to the 2016 for trying something different. He will lead at lap 20 by a considerable margin. It looks like, I'm not sure who's going to cycle out in second place yet. We'll see what happens when the stops cycle through. But it shows Hutchinson in second. He crossed the line on pit road. It looks like Brandon Beal will cycle out into second place. He started 30th in this race, so he's trying something a little different as well. As you see a huge train of cars go through the backstretch chicane at the back of your screen, all getting bottled up by the stop cycle. Of course, it's a very interesting way to settle this race is through the pit stop cycles. But right now, it appears J.D. Martin's got a very comfortable lead, but he's going to have to stop again for sure.
Absolutely, and Jeffrey Finguy, don't forget that he had a 6-second lead when he went into the pits. So we're gonna have to see if that lead will remain, or if it's gonna extend, or even close in a little bit. We've got those options. We're kind of seeing how it's gonna play out here in 26. I would expect the 26 to pit this lap. They stayed out, got a point, and they're gonna go ahead and make a pit stop right now and finish off this race.
Let's see what happens. No, he stays.
Oh, no.
He's going to try and go for it. He's going to try and see if he can make it on one stop. Martin was having a mediocre day, running just inside the top 10, and that's not going to win him a championship. But boy, a race win would certainly help, because he's currently tied for 11th in the standings. He needs to make something happen, and he might as well try and go for a win on strategy here at the Roval.
Yeah, I just said when he was going down the backstretch, this is a unique track. It brings out some unique strategies, and this is one of them for sure. I'm so excited to see what this car can do. He's got plenty of space to be able to save some fuel, save some tires. He's got all this room in front of him, all this room behind him, so it's going to be focus forward and get to the end of this thing for the 26 car.
Yeah, you saw Jake McMillan and Blair in the 69 go into the infield section. They are in 6 and 7. They are a full half a minute behind J.D. Martin, and Brandon Beal in second is 10.5 seconds behind. So Martin's got plenty of space to try and save fuel and tires, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't use too much, because Jeffrey Finguy is still in this battle in 4th place, 19 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how this race plays out, and if this 26 car can make it to the end. It's really interesting. This would absolutely classify as a steal and as a crew chief's win, I'd say, because this is quite the strategy that we're seeing right now.
Martin picked up his first win of the season, remember, and the first of his career at Canadian Tire, although he did that the hard way, passing Jack Porkins for it. But here, he's going for it on strategy. When he knew he couldn't win the race based on speed, he was running in the top 10, which is a solid day for some. But for a playoff contender like Martin, he wants a win, and this is the only way he could do it. And so far, he's making it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just interesting because this track, it's really difficult to pass cars outright with speed. There's a lot of passing zones, but it's not easy to pass people. So this is a perfect example of pass them in the pit lane, right? You can't pass them on the track very easily, and if you're not significantly faster than them, it's really difficult to catch them. So make a pit strategy call, pass all those guys because they have to go into the pit lane, essentially taking a joker lap of sorts, and then try to make it to the end. That's a perfectly good strategy in my mind. And if he does have to make another pit stop, he's going to finish back where he was before. So this is a little risk, high reward situation for the 26 car, and I love it. Really great strategy call so far. We're coming to see how it plays out.
Yes, we're coming to 11 laps to go in this race. You see Keon Daly slap the wall a little bit coming out of the infield section. But J.D. Martin, actually, he had his lead chopped down considerably. Brandon Beals took out about a 1.5 seconds of that lead on that last lap. He's now 8.9 behind J.D. Martin, so he can't get too comfortable, but at the same time, he just needs to manage his stuff, stay out in front, and see what happens at the end of this thing.
Yeah, that is, you can save a little bit and you kind of back yourself up to those guys. That's a lot, though. That's a lot of time to lose in one lap, so we'll see if that continues. Hopefully for the 26th sake, it does not, and hopefully that's not the number that they have to hit for the fuel window, because it's just not going to work out. But, yeah, this is really looking good for the 26 car if they're able to make it.
We will be coming to 10 laps to go this time. Can he last about 22 more miles of this race? on that one tank of fuel and on that same set of tires, because if he pits now, he would most definitely have to take 4, or actually maybe not. Maybe he could, considering there would be so few laps left in this race, maybe he could go for 2, or maybe even just take a splash and go to try and make it to the end of this race. That would be the best thing to do, best thing for him to do if he can manage to make it work. As we look at Brandon Beal in second place, we'll see how much of the lead he chops off on this lap, and he takes another 0.8 of a second off on that lap. So good run from Brandon Beal as we look at the 75 in that patriotic paint scheme on his car, running in third, 16.5 off the lead. But Jeffrey Finga is closing in on that 75, so I would not count out this 92 until the engine goes or the checkered flag drops.
Yep, absolutely. You know, these guys are all racers, and they're all going to fight for it no matter what the situation is. And you know, these guys from behind, they're chasing down the leader. They know he's saving. They know his speed is compromised because of it, and they are chomping at the bit to try to get there before this race is over. And Jeffrey Finguy knows that this race could get stolen from him. He led so much at the beginning in the first half, and that's just, you know, you don't want to lose him that way. So this 92 car is putting on a hard charge to try to get back up there.
What Jeffrey Finguy needs to hope for is that the 26, 37, and 75 all have to make a second pit stop, because if they do, that'll just hand the lead right back to him, and he can just cruise on to victory, because he's got about a 5-second lead on Nicky Martinez. So he can just take it easy and wait it out, or he can charge hard, try and pass the 75 if he can, and then just wait for Beal and Martin to make their pit stops.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If this 92 car, because we know the 92 car can make it to the end, and if he starts to pressure these guys ahead of him, they're going to have to run faster and faster to try to stay in front of him, because they know he will not have to pit. And if they're running harder, they're using up more fuel, they're using up more tires, and it could draw them into having to make a pit stop or concede the position.
Brandon Beal's driving like he stole it, though. He's not acting like he needs to save fuel at all, because look at him. He's just knocked the lead down 2 seconds in that one lap alone. It's down to 6.8 now. So Martin's conserving and Beal's hard charging are combining to make for a very interesting race, as you see Martin flash past in the back of your screen while these two battle it out for third place. I just can't help but wonder if the 26 is saving too much, or if the 37 is using too much of his stuff up. But right now, for Jeffrey Finguy is really wanting to get by the 75 at third place.
Yeah, that 26 car, you know, I'd say that he is saving a lot. Oh, here comes a pass on the inside. Oh, it's going to be close.
Oh, and he's going the long way around. He's going the long way around, but now he's got the preferred line, and Jeffrey Finguy is going to make that pass easily on the 75 to take third spot away. So Jeffrey Finguy is really using his stuff to try and get past these cars that have yet to stop. Will the 75 make another move going into the front stretch of Kane? No, he backs out of it wisely to prevent an accident. But Jeffrey Finguy's got a very healthy lead over Nicky Martinez, and that's who he's really racing, because these three around him have yet to make a pit stop. So it's just a matter of time before Jeffrey Finguy reassumes this lead, barring any disaster.
Yeah, you know, this is really, really interesting. That was a fantastic pass from Jeffrey Finguy, by the way. Just used the draft down the backstretch, got to the inside going into the corner, really just snuck it in there. But he had the preferred lane in that first curve of the chicane. And then when he went around the outside, he ended up in the preferred lane again, side by side, and then he just inherited that position. So really nice move from the 92 car. But we're watching this 26 now, who is currently the leader, and we're going to see if this strategy works out. Still, we keep saying we don't know if it will. You know, this 26 car, he's looking for a win. He's really hungry for a win. You know, this is really going to be interesting to see. I'm excited to see if they can pull this off.
The gap has grown back to 7.1 seconds, so Martin's had to have picked up the pace a little bit as Beal crosses the line. Oh no, he chopped it 7/10 out of that lead. It's down to 6.4. Martin, it looks like he should be able to hang on if things stay the way they are, but he will have a very hungry Brandon Beal on his bumper trying to contend for this win. And if these two have the pit, Jeffrey Finguy's in the captain's seat.
Absolutely, you know, and this is just their race. They're not even thinking about Jeffrey Finguy right now. They are thinking about making it to the finish. You know, and best case scenario, or I'd say worst case scenario for this 26 car, if you can't make it and you know you're not going to be able to make it at this point in the race, I'd say slow down, save, because the worst you can do is about 5th at that point. Looking at 4th or 5th probably is where you'd finish if you just have to full save for the rest of this race. So I'd say this 26 car, the best decision would be to go all the way to the end either way and just make sure you get there.
Or if you know you can't make it, use up all your stuff to try and build as big a lead as you can and then come to pit road so you can cycle back out ahead of where you came in. That would be another way of making this work as JD Martin takes the stripe, coming to 5 laps to go this time. Can JD Martin hang on to win his 2nd race of the season and his 2nd on a road course?
Yeah, and you know how huge this would be for the playoff picture. This 26 car getting a win would really boost the point totals. You know, so this is quite the strategy. It's really, I'm sure all those playoff guys have heard about what's going on at this point. They're all sweating a little bit more right now with this 26 car.
Absolutely, because with JD Martin now building a lead back up over Brandon Beal, he's just got to make sure to keep his stuff steady. If he needs to pit, then he can go all out, but if he can hang on, he needs to make sure he has some stuff left at the end to hold off Brandon Beal if things get tight between them. Because right now, they are the only 2 cars right now that really are within striking distance, because Jeffrey Finguy is 17.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, you know, and these guys just, they've got to focus on making it to the end. I know that the 37 car really wants to get up there and challenge this 26 car on raw speed, but I don't know if that is the best option. You know, you got a couple guys on the strategy, and right now the 26 is lucky enough to be ahead just by where they were running in the order before they all decided to go on this strategy. So I think you got to cut your bets somewhere and just make it to the finish of this race.
And with the gap now 5.9 seconds, Brandon Beal is closing the gap in a hurry. And Jeffrey Finguy is also closing the gap. It's down to 16.6 between him and JD Martin. As that huge train of cars gets backed up, I wonder who's holding them up. But right now, the focus is on JD Martin trying to hang on for a well-deserved victory if he can manage to make this last. We have 4 laps to go right here, 5 laps to go, I should say. As right now, Brandon Beal is the only car that can really contend for a win right here, unless these 2 have the pit and Jeffrey Finguy can get by both of them.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Beal really, I'm not sure where that team's mindset is at right now. I'm not sure if they are trying to hit a different fuel number than the 26 guys are. But I certainly I'd say whatever it is, I trust that they're going to make it work somehow. I don't think that they would intentionally run themselves out of fuel or out of tires by running too hard, but you never know. So this is, you know, it's just all in the mind right now for these drivers. There's not a lot of high physical action on the track right now, but all of the mind games that are going on are just incredible. The tension is really high.
And with that being said, JD Martin's enjoying a 6-second lead right now, but anything can still happen. He could come to pit road, and that could hand the lead back to Jeffrey Finguy as actually, Jeffrey Finguy is out of this race. He's got a tire going down, and that could be that could be the end for Jeffrey Finguy. He's falling down the running order in a big hurry. He's down to 7th. He's 28 seconds back, and he's now on pit road. And with a tire that came loose on the 98, you can see it on the pylon, a tire issue for the 92. His race is over. That could give the win to Nicky Martinez if the 26 and 37 have the pit. A huge development in this race with 4 laps to go.
What a disappointment for the 92 crew, because they dominated the early sections of this race. They've had the fastest car for the whole day. And to have a problem like that is so heartbreaking and so disappointing. Oh my goodness, that's just...
As JD Martin finally gives up the lead to come to pit road, And let's see if Brandon Beal comes with him. Will that's 37 stay out an extra lap? Yes, he will. So Brandon Beal will continue on. He will pick up a point for leading the lap. But Jeffrey Finguy's wretched season continues as far as his luck is concerned. Hopefully he can get him. Next week we go back to Martinsville where he won in the spring. But man, oh man, he had such a good car here today.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And that's just absolutely heartbreaking. And then the 26, almost immediately after the first heartbreak, another has occurred. The 26 strategy just has not worked out. That makes me very concerned for Brandon Beal. I would not be surprised to see a pit stop here, but man, oh man, that's just a lot of wild stuff just happened.
And keep in mind the 75 has also stayed out an extra lap. So with that being said, Nicky Martinez is probably going to be in the best position because they are running in the third position behind Beal and, of course, Martin, who pitted. So they are running in second right now. But if Beal comes to pit road, Martinez will take the lead, and they will have a very good 3-second lead over Jake McMillan. And all they had to do then is just hold on for 2 more laps.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the situation now, and that would have been Jeffrey Finguy's situation, who is now kicking the dirt even more on that because, here comes Beal to the pit lane, as we expected. So,
and there's Nicky Martinez coming out of the backstretch chicane. They will assume the race lead. This could be a big upset if they can hold on to win this race. It's just their 3rd series start, remember. And they've failed to qualify so many times, but when they do make the races, they do extraordinarily well. Remember, they got a 3rd place finish in Brazil in their series debut. Yep. So this would be a mild upset, but really, if they can make the race, they perform very well.
Absolutely. You know, it's such a surprise that these guys aren't able to make more races, you know, with equipment this good. But, you know, this is something that will put them on the map. Certainly, a win is pretty much the best medicine for any motorsports problem.
Absolutely, and Martinez now only has 1.5 laps to try and take this race away. Keep in mind, of course, that Jake McMillan is still very much alive in this race. He's down by 4.4 seconds. But if Martinez were to have a tire issue, remember, McMillan could gain time. But Martinez was pitted around the same time as Finguy did. So they should be in a very solid position to try and take this win. You see McMillan there just entering the backstretch chicane as Martinez leaves it. So Martinez has a very handy lead, and they're coming to the white flag this time. This could be all she wrote for Nicky Martinez to take their first series win.
Yeah, I agree. This is really a stellar performance so far. Jake McMillan is just too far back at this point to do it on speed. If there's a tire issue, then we'll see. But right now, this is the ball is in the court of the leader, and it's looking really good.
And Martinez is making their way through the infield section right now. Just got to pray that those tires stay on and that the fuel lasts, although the fuel should not be an issue to make it to the end. I just got to worry about those good years if they can make it to the end as Martinez makes their way through turn 5 and coming through 6 and 7 now. McMillan's about 4-5 seconds behind, so Martinez, all they have to do is make it pretty much around this oval, and their first win has been secured as they head through NASCAR 1 and 2 for the final time.
Certainly, this is really a stellar performance. I kind of fell into this win, but you got to be in the right position at the right time to win these races sometimes, and that's exactly what has happened today. Going through the backstretch chicane for one last time, these drivers must be pretty happy about that. This is such a tough track, so one final time through is absolutely great, especially if you're the leader in the race.
That would be Nicky Martinez, who after DNQing from so many races, they finally get to savor their first win in just their 3rd series start, going through the front stretch chicane for the final time. Nicky Martinez is your winner from the Charlotte Roval in a chaotic final 5 laps that saw a pit strategy dominate the day and some tires play havoc. But Nicky Martinez is your winner. Jake McMillan 2nd. J.D. Martin actually managed to bounce back to 3rd at the end. Blair in the 69 4th. Justin Hutchinson ends a string of bad luck in 5th. Brandon Beal in 6th place. Nick Ortiz 7th. Chris Maley with his third top 10 in as many playoff races, in 7th, or in 8th, I should say. Richard Herman 9th, and Jared Polanski fights back to finish 10th at the end. I gotta say, this race was exactly what we were hoping for from a Charlotte Roval race. A lot of action, a lot of strategy, but in the end, it was the most opportunist of times for Nicky Martinez. They will be celebrating in victory lane.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, this is exactly what we all anticipated when we're coming to this course. You know, it's a unique course, like I was saying earlier in this race. A unique course, unique strategy, unique situations going on. And in the end, the driver who was the most consistent and who was in the right place at the right time ended on top.
And with that being said, Nicky Martinez can celebrate their first series win, but the rest of the series is going to be turning towards Martinsville next week. With Jeffrey Finguy being the most recent winner, can he end his spell of bad luck at the place where he got his first career win in the spring? We can only find out once we get there. And for Duke Anzac and for myself, we say goodbye to the Charlotte Roval, a thrilling race to be had, and Nicky Martinez, your winner, after a thrilling final laps here at Charlotte.